So in addition to ignoring misbehaviors that are temporary, you'll also need to let students know if their behaviors are inappropriate. So you can do this by giving them signals, reminders. It may just be a look. It may be a few simple words, but that way students know that they need to alter their behaviors so that they can, so that things don't get off track and the classroom climate is not altered. And sometimes you can get students' perspectives about their behavior. Ask students whether they think they were acting appropriately, and that may provide you with an opportunity to see how students' cultures may influence their behavior in the classroom. And so as a teacher, there's several things that you can do to help reduce the misbehaviors. You can teach self-regulation strategies, so when students express their own concern about their misbehavior, help them to become more self-regulated so that they can reduce their own misbehaviors. If they engage in self-monitoring by thinking about how to do a better job, or not speaking aloud, or getting out of their seats without asking, those things can help them to behave better in the future. And be sure that you use only consequences of punishment that are effective in reducing problem behaviors. And we talked a lot about this when we discussed behaviorism, but reinforcement should be used more often than punishment. However, sometimes punishment can be used, especially if it's to be used because of an infraction that may hurt other students or one that's more serious. So some mild forms of punishment in the classroom include verbal reprimands, the loss of a reinforcer, something they like, such as removal punishment, logical consequences, time out, and school suspension. So depending on the age level and of course the type of behavior, different types of punishment can be used. Another thing to do is to consult with parents. So this is especially important when students have shown a particular behavior pattern over time. Just be cautious about how you approach parents. You want to lead with something positive, ask for their help. It may be better to have a conference with the student present to say, what do you think and what is most effective in this situation? And all three of you perhaps come to an understanding or a solution. Then you can determine whether certain undesirable behaviors might serve a particular purpose for students. So some students with disabilities may get attention or may have difficulty dealing with difficult situations and may react harshly. So those particular students may need an intervention or a functional behavior analysis. Also, students may have a reason to speak out or do something so that others perceive them as a particular type of kid. So, just determine whether students are doing it for a particular purpose. So the book mentions this idea of the functional behavior analysis, which comes from the special education realm but can work in any classroom. And that is, whatever is happening, use that to control the behavior to produce the consequence that you want. So some things you can do are to ignore the behavior the student's doing, cue the student, as we talked about, discuss the problem with them, implore the punishment that's appropriate, and talk with the parents. So by having the intervention like the functional behavior analysis or something like that, a self-regulation type of strategy, you can help students to actually alter their behavior. So when the behavior is rare and won't be repeated, then perhaps you don't need to do anything about it. If it's unlikely to spread to other students, that's also a behavior that might be ignored. If it's just like the last day of school or right before spring break, or maybe it's the weather's changing, those types of things, students will typically get a little unruly. So just having a little more slack for them at that time. And then if a particular behavior is common for that age group, like sitting for a long time, students are usually going to get disruptive, different types of things. So just think about the age or the gender. And then if the behavior's natural consequence is unpleasant, Like if a student does something inappropriate or stands in their chair and then the chair falls over, then that consequence is fine and you can ignore the misbehavior. And of course, if the behavior is not serious, if it's not affecting classroom learning. So there are several things, as I mentioned, that you can do, and you can look in your book also for suggestions for these. But verbal reprimands, taking away something the student wants, having some type of a logical consequence. Having students walk at recess for not paying attention in class is not a logical consequence. They need to be running around during recess. So think of something that makes sense for the particular situation. You can have a required time out or an in-school suspension. Putting the student in, like a boring, dull type of room or situation. So, and then think about some of the guidelines mentioned in the book for using punishment effectively. It's important to let students know ahead of time, and we talked about this when we discussed reinforcement and punishment. But let them know if they do break rules, what the consequences will be. Punish behaviors, help them to understand why, if you are punishing, why it's important to punish and not have that type of behavior. Help students understand that it's the behavior you don't like, not them. And then sometimes, if you can, administer punishment privately if that's possible to do. But also be sure that you teach what's desired. In addition to just punishing the behavior that you don't want. So this part in the book discusses that 3-tiered intervention to prevent aggression, starting with a school-wide environment that minimizes it, intervening early, or providing that intensive type of intervention if needed. So if you are, the figure 9.7 talks about some violent behavior, early warning signs. So it's something that you should review. And these are mentioned there, consulting with others. And if you're in a school that has gang violence and things like that, you will likely go through training so that you are prepared to react to situations like that. So if violence does happen, of course, you have to take an immediate action, whatever that may be. So anyway, that is the rest of Chapter 9. If you have any questions, let me know. And we will get through this pretty quickly in Chapter 10 because they both just serve as a review of previous chapters in addition to a preview of your classroom management class and then your assessment class for Chapter 10.